At the going rate, there's a decent chance this blood is toxic from a common over-the-counter vitamin.
So these are the numbers of tests we're doing for vitamin B6, where we're doing about 10,000 tests a month. And you see it's just a crazy jump from the end of that year, 24, when we're doing about 6,000. It's nearly doubled.
At this pathology lab, they're processing B6 samples from across the country. A quarter of results are showing concerning levels.
It is still surprising and shocking. It's big, really, and sometimes we'll talk to doctors who don't believe, they think it's a clerical error that the result is that high. And we have to say, no, it's real, that you need to sort it out.
Last month, around 450 patients had so much B6 they're probably experiencing neuropathy, a nerve damage that causes tingling, numbness, burning or weakness, often in the hands or feet.
The sooner you act on it, the better. Nerves don't always recover, especially sensory nerves, if they're damaged. And in fact, there's probably not a lot of reason why you would take B6, for that reason. We don't really need it. There's plenty in the diet.
Vitamin B6 is vital to cognitive health and exists naturally in many foods, but in its manufactured form can cause life-altering issues when people take too much for too long. Often labelled pyridoxine, pyridoxal or pyridoxamine, it's added to thousands of products including medicines, energy drinks and diet shakes. And in Australia, it's in more than 1,500 supplements from magnesium to multivitamins, and 80% of them contain levels well above the recommended daily amount.
It is highly likely that there are hundreds of thousands of Australians who have B6 levels that are far above the recommended level because they are taking multiple supplements.
Australia's medicine regulator, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, last tightened the rules around B6 in 2022. But many sufferers and medical professionals say they didn't go far enough. Do you feel like you're chasing your tail with B6 now?
I think we're being very careful about how we regulate products. I think the processes that we're going through are ensuring that we are meeting the needs of the community. And the changes from a few years ago, we've seen were not sufficient to reduce the rate of the level of toxicity from B6.
I think that TGA has completely underestimated just how common this problem might in fact be in the community.
Nick Mann is spearheading a potential class action on B6 toxicity against one of the country's biggest supplements manufacturers, Blackmores Group.
I've been practicing about 20 years now, and I'm not sure that I've ever seen anything quite like this. The number of people that have reached out over the last 48 hours has been really overwhelming.
Nick is on his way to meet Phil Anastasio, one of almost 200 people who've contacted him about the class action.
Hi, how you going?
Pleasure.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Come on in.
Thank you.
Last December, Phil started taking Blackmores Super Magnesium Plus, hoping it would help his chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. It contains 50 milligrams of B6. For adults, the recommended daily limit is less than 2.
I just assumed that, B vitamins are good. People talk about B12 all the time. I just assumed that it was, an added bonus.
Phil had been making significant progress in his recovery, but after 3 months of taking this supplement once a day, his health went backwards.
A lot of intense sweating. I'd felt pins and needles in my hands and feet a bit more. I was struggling to get out of the bed more in the morning.
His B6 results were off the charts, 7 times higher than the safe upper limit. Blackmores Group told 730 all its products are developed in strict accordance with TGA requirements.
Felt betrayed, I went down this big spiral of just not being able to process that, I'd been responsible for a dip in my own health by choosing something that I thought was going to help. It's been about 2 months since I stopped taking it, and I'm still experiencing pretty much all of it every day.
After months of pressure to act, on Friday the TGA handed down several recommendations based on the advice of a committee that was tasked to investigate the burgeoning B6 problem. It found the benefits to be negligible, the labelling inconsistent and confusing, and managing doses beyond the health literacy capability of the typical consumer.
So this one's got pyridoxine 50 milligrams in it. You can see the ingredients here. It does list in that tiny writing that says pyridoxine in a mesh of all the different names. So it's quite confusing and complicated.
Companies will be asked to make labels clearer, and those selling the supplements will have to store anything with more than 50 milligrams behind the counter.
Oh, whoa, this one's got 100 in it. It's a really good interim decision. However, that could still be easily an overdose over a period of time if you're taking 3 or 4 complementary medicines. So I come back to the advice, and the fundamental basics is to come to the pharmacy and to get people to double check with you that it's safe to take your complementary medicine. We are medicine experts.
So cases of neuropathy are being recorded at a much lower level than 50 milligrams. So why not lower the threshold to something like 25 or 10 milligrams, as they've done in Europe, for instance?
Yeah. So I am aware that there are reports of vitamin B6 toxicity at low levels, but they don't seem to be, in some patients, they don't seem to be related to dose. We don't know why that's the case. And certainly I don't think there'd be many regulatory changes that would protect that very small number of people.
Why on earth is it allowed in so many products then when there's repeatedly mentions of there being insufficient evidence?
There are some people in the community that do need B6 supplementation. I'm not really able to answer why the commercial decisions are made by the different sponsors, but what this regulatory action is doing is ensuring that the maximum doses that you can buy without the additional input from a healthcare practitioner will be lower than they have recently and help to protect people.
The TGA will make its final decision by next February, giving the complementary medicine sector a year to comply with changes. It continues to argue that B6-related incidents are extremely rare, based on a comparison of sales data with the TGA's public database of adverse events. But now the TGA is admitting that data is inadequate and doesn't reflect the true scale of this problem.
So I think it's sufficient to say that our database of adverse events doesn't necessarily reflect the true incidence of what's happening in the community.
It's going in the right direction. If the TGA takes a greater interest in this, I think they'll probably come up with a reasonable solution over the next few years. That's a start. It's a good start.